Christy Cornelius is going to be talking to us today, and Lauren and I are going to be your moderators. And we're going to do like a 15-minute, Christy's going to do a 15-minute presentation, and we're going to wait till after the presentation for questions and discussion. And then once she's finished, we'll open it up to questions. And Lauren, do you want to introduce Christy?
Sure. So Christy Cornelius is a certified hospice and palliative care veterinarian and an entrepreneur in the veterinary end-of-life sector. She founded 5 startups in the last 10 years, 2 pet hospice euthanasia practices, an automation service, a software development firm that develops electronic tracking software for pet crematories, a nonprofit organization called the Last Wishes Fund. In 2021, Christy sold her successful mobile and hospice euthanasia service to Blue Pearl Veterinary Specialist. She's currently practicing as a hospice veterinarian in her new startup, Fair Winds Pet Hospice on Galveston Island in Texas. She is also studying to obtain her executive MBA degree from Rice University in Houston. She's a recent addition to the board of directors of the IAA-HPC, where she hopes to use her talents to work to elevate the overall experience the organization offers to its members, especially in the area of business development and strategy. And thank you so much for being here, Christy.
Thank you so much for the great introduction. It's good to see you both here, you and Alex. Thank you everyone for joining. We weren't sure how big our audience was going to be, but we're glad that you're here. And so we hope that this is really useful information for your businesses as you either go through your startup or you're considering, making some changes and to try to increase some efficiencies within your current business. And so I want to give a shout out to Lab of Love. They are this month's sponsor for this topic. And so we want to just thank them for their continued contributions to us in moving forward. I want to point you towards the Facebook page. We're going to be having a lot of continued conversation, a lot of resources posted there. Some of our chat function will kind of spill over into our Facebook. And so we'd like to have that as an additional space that we can continue our conversations with one another. So be sure that you go in if you are a member. You'll be able to be approved to get into the Facebook. We make that exclusive to our BiSGroups members only. So moving forward, we'll talk a little bit about the structure framework for your business plan. This is pretty straightforward. And so I'll cover some of the major things. And so one of the first things in terms of, writing your business plan, some people will have a really detailed plan to start out. There are some people that literally write things on a napkin. Some people have their business plan in their heads, but really a very well thought through business plan is really the best way to go. And whether or not you start out like that, or at some point you kind of want to revamp something and just restart, if you haven't done that before in your business and you're already in business, always a good idea to kind of go back and really analyze how you've been doing. And so the first part of a business plan, of course, would be the executive summary. And then we go into our description of our products and services, and then our marketing strategy and analysis, the financial planning, and then finally our budget. And while executing your business plan and drawing up what you see as your vision, what we use to keep ourselves accountable and keep us moving in forward progress is a process called SMART goals. And you'll see that on the right side of your slide. And so SMART goals, if you have not heard of them before, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And so this is really important to kind of stay in reality, to really try to get some attainable, relevant goals so that we can get things done in a forward fashion. Being able, having a business plan allows you to be able to think through some ideas better before spending too much money. It's also a way to work, new ways of working through obstacles along the way. in our executive summary, and when I did my business plan, yes, I tend to be very formal and detailed in my plans. What I did actually is I left the executive summary for last because I found that trying to write it out first, you kind of want to work through the rest of it, and then you'll be able to kind of fill out the details. And so I recommend that you fill that part out last. But when you are filling that out, the executive summary, what that is for is it's basically your mission statement. It is your vision, it's your values, it's what your structure, what you picture your structure is going to be like. It includes members of your leadership team, your employees if they have them, the types of operations that you engage in, and then also the location that you're in. And then sometimes also says a little bit about market share, space, and projections. And so that's kind of what an executive summary is from A to Z. You can Google these things, and there are a lot of templates available for you to use as you go through your business plan. The second part of your business plan should include information about your products and services that you're offering, a detailed list of all of your services, and then the pricing behind those services too as well, the benefits to the consumer. And then of course you want to kind of lay out what your production is going to look like. And for those of you that operate aftercare services like pet cremation, flame-based or aquamation, this the production part of it comes into play a little bit better. And if you don't start out with an additional service like aftercare, typically a lot of us will start adding it in. And at that point, that's where you need a new business plan to add that extra revenue. The third part of your business plan is a marketing strategy and analysis. What you are analyzing is the industry. And so you want some information about the general industry. You want to try to figure out what your target market is. And so there are websites available. You can go through the AVMA that may have some industry news. There are other sites that hold veterinary industry data. Again, very searchable. I will plug in some links to find this information for you guys in case you have a hard time finding it. Also in your market analysis, of course, you want to keep in mind who your competition is. What kind of market share does your competition have? What products are they executing that are different than yours? How busy are they? How long have they been in business? And so you kind of get an idea of what your strategy may be in order to gain some of that market share from either your competition or those that are not aware of the services to begin with. So you want to get an idea of how your company actually fits into the industry. You also want to identify some of your strengths and weaknesses. And so you may even have an idea of what some of your competition's strengths and weaknesses may be. You may be able to figure out a strategic plan in order to take advantage of some of those differences. You want to also kind of contemplate what your expected consumer demand may be, and then how easy or difficult it is to actually get market share. Like I said, depending on your competition, if you have no competition, obviously it's a lot easier. But if you're already managing through competition, it may be a little bit more difficult. And so you may need to curb some of your expectations, knowing that all that market share is not going to be available to you to begin with. Your marketing strategy, it will, you want to think about how you're going to attract and keep your customers. You want a clear distribution channel. You want to make sure that you're advertising in your marketing plans, and then you have the types of media that you'll be using. And so a lot of us use social media. We use our websites, and social media has gotten into things like, TikTok and the reels and things like that. And so, being on top of those things is fairly important. And so I myself, I tend to ask questions of a younger audience when it comes to social media. They seem to be a lot more up to date on those things. And so if you are reaching out, that might be helpful to know as well. And moving on to your financial planning and projections, you want to be familiar with your financial statements And so some of you will have bookkeepers, you may have a CPA that's involved in your practice. And so it's always a good idea to actually sit down face to face with them and have them explain what your financials are and what these numbers mean, so that then you're able to sit down and look at your previous numbers. And then you can figure out kind of what your growth rate is and what you're planning on executing as you move forward. Your balance sheets and your cash flow statements are two of the most important statements when you're anticipating and doing your financial planning. When you are doing your planning, I typically recommend you try to project out 2 to 3 years. I know that's hard at first as a startup, especially if you don't know some of the variables in your planning to begin with. And so I would say just do the best job of predicting what may happen. If I went to look back at my original business plan back in 2012, I can tell you I really underestimated how, the growth rate and everything. So if I look back at there, it's kind of funny to see what I thought may be possible. And just to know that there are a lot of people out there that really need our services, just need to find a really good way to find them. And of course, number 5, your budget is super important. It's important when you are thinking about staffing. And then, utilizing your assets, your team and your development. If you're into manufacturing, that would be another thing that you would budget in. Most of us, of course, are not. And then, of course, you want to budget for your marketing and then some other business expenses too as well. I will say that although there are lots of templates out there, the best plans are not the kind of fill in the blank plans. It really requires a lot of creativity, a lot of thought. You really want to spell out your potential for success. And so some professionals that may be visiting with you about your business plan really needs to be clear about what your goals are and how you plan to achieve them. And so what I would like you to do for homework is using the SMART goals method. If you can create an outline for your business plan or business strategy, if you want to work on that for the next month, we are here to help you along in that process. I'd like you to give it a shot, and I will ask you guys in a month for next month's meeting where you guys are at in that process. And if there are things you guys have questions, and we can help you along with that. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it over to the moderators now. And I think we're going to go forward with some introductions.